It's a problem News Channel 13's been reporting on for years. Staffing shortages at the 911 Communications Center in the city of Albany.
Back in September, Emily DeVito discovered that 3 dispatchers were working the overnight shift and 2 of them were on mandatory overtime. Well, Emily dug deeper to find out how much the city's dishing out for overtime. She joins us now with what she's learned. Emily.
About every year for the past few years, a shortage of dispatchers is brought up and gets a little media attention. But for tired and overworked dispatchers, being understaffed is something they're living with every day. And through a FOIL, or Freedom of Information Laws request, I found out how much the city has been paying in overtime for the past 4 years. When you're in a crisis, you call 911. You expect a quick response.
911, location of emergency.
But in the city of Albany, dispatchers are stretched thin.
They're up to 684 mandates. 2 dispatchers alone have been mandated 60 times plus. And that's a lot on a human body to constantly be mandated, working 16-hour shifts day in and day out.
Gregory McGee is the president of the Albany Police Officers Union. The union also represents dispatchers. McGee wrote Albany Mayor Kathy Sheehan and the Common Council in September, and his message to them was clear.
And you're sacrificing an employee's health, their mental well-being, you're sacrificing their family time.
The city is budgeted for 39 dispatchers. Currently 26 are staffed and 10 are in training. Take a look at the overtime numbers for the past 4 years. In 2016, the department budgeted for $175,000 for overtime. It spent a little more than $221,000, 26% over budget. 2017, they budgeted for the same amount but spent more than $349,000 in overtime, 100% over budget. 2018, they upped the budget to $325,000 but still went over, paying out more than $371,000. But this year, the city budgeted for $525,000 for overtime. My FOIL request was answered December 10th, and at that point, the city had spent about $456,000.
We're in a crisis right now, and it's not simply just throw more money at it. You know, you're not valuing your employees.
So where did the increase in overtime money come from?
At some point, we had 13 vacant positions, and so some of that, the money that's allocated to those vacant positions was transferred over in order to cover the overtime costs for those who are still working. We readily concede that there's been some staffing challenges in dispatch that go back, like you said, years.
And what's the address?
Dispatcher shortages happen across the country, but why does Albany have such a hard time retaining them? Albany Police Chief Eric Hawkins says they're working diligently to recruit. A civil service test is being given this weekend.
My predecessors did a great job of recognizing that there was some challenges in place and putting together some plans to get us where we needed to be. And I simply came in and took some of those things that they were already doing and built on those.
But McGee said salary is a big part of recruitment and retention. Dispatchers in Albany top out at around $47,000. Go a few miles up the road and Colony dispatchers are making more than $65,000.
When you look at these folks that are constantly being overworked and, you know, and mandated, it makes sense to actually leave here and go work somewhere else.
Another concern, the residency requirement. McGee has asked the Common Council and the mayor to remove it. Chief Hawkins said the requirement hasn't hampered their efforts, but he also sees how not having it in place could help.
I think obviously if we didn't have a residency requirement, we'd get more people from the outside, maybe those who had experience that don't live in Albany right now.
Mayor Kathy Sheehan turned down my requests for an on-camera interview. She directed me to Chief Hawkins. I also reached out to Common Council President Corey Ellis about removing the residency requirement.
We feel that there are enough people in this city that could apply for that job and do that job at entry level. So at this time, the council, I've talked to all the council members about this as well, is not in support of changing that residency requirement. We want people to live in this city of Albany.
But some say the job isn't entry level. Just this week, a Montgomery County dispatcher was credited for being able to have a man police say killed his father surrender to police without incident. McGee said dispatchers in Albany don't feel supported by City Hall.
Why are they not doing anything to help make things better? It really is, you know, it's really disheartening to these folks.
However, Chief Hawkins says he feels dispatchers know they're supported and he feels confident relief is on the way.
Despite the challenges and despite, you know, our dispatchers being under the stress that they're under because of staffing, I mean, the future's bright.
And I did ask about the city of Albany potentially merging with the Albany County County's dispatch center. However, Chief Hawkins said there has been zero discussion on that happening. 144 people have signed up to take that civil service exam this weekend. Stay with News Channel 13 as we continue to follow these dispatcher staffing levels. Jim and Benita.
And did the chief say anything about probably bringing up Albany's salary so it's a little bit more commensurate with other areas, like with Colony?
Yeah, he talked about that. He did say that not everyone's motivated by pay. He said there's other benefits of being in the city of Albany, a little more action perhaps more calls. That's what he kind of referred to, but I know they are always working with a contract to try and up that salary.
Lots of moving parts there. All right, thanks very much, Emily.
Well done.